Round 2 of the Dunlop Endurance Championship brings us back to Silverstone, but this time using the full Grand Prix circuit. One of the many new teams on the grid this year is Beluga Racing. They impressed with 2 class podiums on their debut in Round 1.
I mean, the team are doing a really good job. Large crew of really experienced mechanics, engineers. So the team's got the experience across the board. Adapting to the car. It's obviously a new car in the Gen 1 GT3 for me. But it's good, it's the next stage I needed in my career, so looking forward to the challenge ahead.
Adam's new teammate for this weekend is jumping straight in at the deep end.
This is in fact my first ever race in any kind of race car. So it's been a bit of an odd sort of build up to it, but it's been great. Pity about the weather because it's a bit wet and windy, but you can't change that and it's the same for everybody, so we'll just have to see how we get on.
Class 4 predominantly features touring cars. Sam Allpass, one of the likely frontrunners, and his Jeff Still Racing prepared BMW.
I think the car goes better on the Grand Prix circuit rather than the international, and perhaps that's a bit of me and my driving style as well. I think most people like the Grand Prix circuit because it flows and it's an interesting, challenging circuit. So I expect we'll go well today relative to how we were in the last one.
After winning a race and retiring from the other in Round 1, it's the Class 1 Praga R1T of Tim Gray and Alistair Bolton who qualified on pole for Race 1, with the Class 2 Ferrari of former champions David Mason and Ross Wiley alongside. But a spin on cold tyres on the formation lap means that the Praga has to start right at the very back of the 29-car grid. On board with Paul Rose, ready for the start of race 3 of the season. From 5th on the grid, the Seika sees the red lights go out, the race gets underway. Ross Wiley in the red, number 7 Ferrari effectively on pole position. The Seika of David Bryce tucked in behind him. There's some close battles here in the midfield going through Copse Corner for the first time in the race. Back on board with Paul Rose as alongside him comes Paul Bailey in the Ferrari. They're battling for 4th place here, and just ahead is Wayne Mars in the other 488 Challenge car. And then they come into Beckett's, into the S's, whipping around the outside. If he can get the inside line for the next turn, Paul Rose will have 3rd. He's got it, I think. And up ahead, look, it's side by side for the lead of the race as they come out on the hanger straight for the first time. So, David Bryce in the Seika tucked up right underneath the rear wing of the Ferrari of Ross Wiley, who's got certainly an eye on the mirrors here and takes the defensive line on the way into Stowe Corner. David has to back off out of it, but these two well clear already of the rest of the field. It's a Class 2 Ferrari in the lead, a Class 1 Seika in second, a Class 1 Seika on board with Paul Rose in 3rd position. And the busiest category this weekend is Class 4. There's the white number 42 Technosport BMW of George Aguiaton. Right behind him, the 57 BMW of Charlie Lamb. And just behind them, the fast yellow Taranis of Ben Sharich, which had to start last on the grid after missing qualifying due to a noise issue with the car. So that's a fast one to watch coming through. So too the Praga from the very back of the field. As we got a spin there for Guy Colclough in the number 99 DAT Racing set. He'll get going again, but right at the back of the field. Now, a replay of the start on board with Ian Humphreys on his race debut. Screaming up the inside there, the green and black BMW of Sam Neary, followed by the Ginetta of Ben Dimmock and Steve Burgess, and Mark Cunningham coming through in his Porsche as well. So at the end of lap 1, it's Ross Wiley that leads from David Bryce. 3rd is Paul Rose. 4th is Chris Hart, who's making his debut in that Seika, which is owned by Steve Harris, who'll be in for the 2nd stint. And Steve used to be the teammate in Fun Cup to the man you're looking at now, Paul Rose, who is trying to chase down. And they're coming through the field, these 2 rapid cars then, the blue Praga of Alistair Bolton and then the Ben Sharich yellow Taranis, 2 Class 1 cars that should thunder their way through the order. The top 4 onto the hanger straight. In the middle of the pack then, this is the battle for 11th place. Ian Humphreys in the Porsche 991. He's lost a few places off the start, but he's still in the mix. Just ahead of him is former Britcar champion Martin Byford in the Seat, the BPM Motorsport entry, and he draws alongside him. He's got more power in a straight line, getting into his stride now. A big lockup from the Ginetta just ahead of them. And does the Porsche get through? It's going to be tight, this. Martin Byford is making it really work for it as they go wheel to wheel, almost touching paintwork there as they go through Stowe Corner. Byford's got his nose in front, but the grunt of the Porsche kicks back in. These 2 cars in different categories, but well matched, and slicing back to the inside through Club Corner to get 11th position is the newcomer. Meanwhile, it's close for the Class 5 lead. That's the number 15 Honda Civic of Andrew Stewart for Team Autobid Racing, only just ahead of the number 72 Chris Murphy BMW Z3. Go back on board with Ian Humphries as Martin Byford screams back up the inside of him on the way into Village Corner, and he's followed by the reigning Britcar champion Sarah Moore in the top with Motorsport's Ginetta. Terrific dice going on there. Meanwhile up front, Ross Wiley's just started to stretch his legs away from David Bryce in the Seika. David, who with Alan Purbrick won one of the final 2 races of the season at Brands Hatch last year, one of the Into the Night races. Ian Humphries back up the inside of the Ginetta, then the Seat, and he's going to pick 2 of them off on the way into the braking zone for Brooklands. There's Mark Cunningham, who's doing well in the number 32 SG Racing Porsche, currently running in 6th place, just ahead of Wayne Miles in the Ferrari. Back on board with Ian Humphries. This is a fantastic dice. You've got Martin Byford quicker in the corners in the Seat, the Porsche of Ian Humphries quicker in a straight line, and overall, barely anything between them. And there, just charging past the pair of them, is the Praga from the very back of the field. So Alistair Bolton gains 2 quick places in succession, 3 if you include the Ginetta, and he is marching up the order very rapidly indeed. There's Wayne Miles in the FF Course Run Ferrari, currently in 7th place. Just behind, though, he's got Sam Neary, who's made this terrific start from 12th on the grid in the Class 4 BMW. It's a Class 2 Ferrari up ahead, but again, around this circuit, the 2 are relatively evenly matched. Into the pits, I'm afraid, though, for George Aguiaton in the Technosport BMW, and that looks like a problem that could put him out of the race. So there's the Seat, there's the Porsche, there's the Ginetta, still battling over this, well, now 12th position, because they've all been passed by the Praga. And good effort this by Ian Humphries on his race debut. He's getting stuck in against one of the most experienced drivers on the grid. Oh no, and they were battling with Stuart Wilson in the Ferrari, but that is grinding to a halt. That's to rearrange the exhaust system on that car after noise issues in qualifying this morning. I wonder if that has caused an issue. Back on board with Paul Rose, going well, actually closing the door a little bit to the Seika ahead. He's catching David Bryce for 2nd place. There was a puff of smoke though out of Copse Corner, and whizzing by to pick up 3rd place is Steve Harris, and it looks like Paul is headed for the pits. Team starting to prepare for the mandatory pit stops, which come in the middle of this 60-minute race, the first of 2 here this weekend. Up ahead, still got this close battle going on between the 2 Class 5 cars. It's been an early pit stop for the number 92 Ginetta. Paul Calladine taking over from Graham Roberts, had an issue with the car, so an earlier than planned pit stop. They've been in already. There's the CTR Alpha Tune car coming up to be lapped by the David Bryce Seika, which is now up to 2nd place, and up to 3rd place from the very back of the field. Alistair Bolton in the Praga. Paul Rose has come into the pits and has been in for a while now, so it looks like potentially an electrical problem, and it's going to be in for some time. We've also had the other JPR Motorsport car in for an early stop, an early driver changeover after the car went into limp mode. Wayne Miles has made an early stop as well, so Mark Cunningham in the yellow and black Porsche is 4th, and Sam Neary in the green and black ABBA Racing BMW is now up into 5th place. He's leading Class 4. 2nd in Class 4 is Sam Allpass in the Jeff Steele Racing BMW, going well, keeping out of trouble with the track to himself at the moment. Sarah Moore has got the 26 Tockwith Motorsports Ginetta from 17th up into the top 10. She's now just ahead of the Beluga Racing Porsche of Ian Humphries, who's had all the action in the race so far, but it looks like retirement, I'm afraid, for Paul Rose. Well, after being sat behind Andrew Stewart for the first half of the race, Chris Murphy has now got the Class 5 lead by dint of a slower pit stop for the Honda Civic, which is still not that far back, but they're in 2nd place now in the category, pushing hard to try and catch back up with a lock-up on the way into Village Corner for Stewart. Into the pits for Alistair Bolton, a really good recovery drive from the position he found himself in at the end of the formation lap. Tim Gray, who drove the race solo at Silverstone last time we were here, now takes over for the 2nd stint. David Mason picks up the lead of the race then in the number 7 Ferrari, and into the gravel trap for Richard Neary. It just got into the number 234 ABBA Racing BMW. That's at Luffield, and he could be stuck for a while. Driver change going on for Beluga Racing as well, so Adam Hatfield now takes his place aboard the 991 after an excellent stint from Ian Humphries. The marshals look like they're struggling though to get the BMW out of the gravel trap. Just under 10 minutes to go, and we've got a new race leader, the Blue Praga of VR Motorsport, driven by Tim Gray. Right behind, just been lapped, is the yellow Taranis, which is now in 6th place. They're both coming back well from their respective starts. A lap down as well, but in 7th place is Mark Cunningham in the SG Racing Porsche. That leads Class 3, but only just flying after him with the onboard camera is Adam Hatfield. He at the moment though is stuck behind the number 7 Ferrari, which is actually in second place, driven by gentleman driver David Mason. That in turn is being caught by Alan Purbrick there in the number 65 Seika, and Alan's a couple of seconds a lap quicker at the moment. He's bringing with him though right on his tail the very experienced Andy Schultz in the number 28 Ferrari. And it's all bunching up here as well. Around goes the number 57 Moss Motorsport BMW. Mike Moss trying to find his way past the Ginetta of Mo Ritson. There is the number 60 BPM Motorsport Seat of Ash Woodman. That's currently running third in Class 4, but hunting him down for the final spot on the class podium is Tim Docker in the Maximum Motorsport Run VW Golf. And at the moment, Docker is the quicker of the two drivers. You can see his quarry in his sights. Meanwhile, a replay of that incident at Village Corner. The BMW trying to get at the inside of Mo Ritson's Ginetta. There wasn't enough room, it turned out, and around went the BMW. Back on board with Adam Hatfield, who's still behind the number 7 Ferrari of David Mason, which is losing places though, and it's about to lose another. It's gone very wide up ahead on the way through Abbey Corner. It's been passed by Andy Schultz in the number 28 Ferrari. Adam Hatfield getting through as well to unlap himself here, and behind them is the Seika of David Bryce, so that means Schultz is now up to second place. We're into the closing stages here at Silverstone. It's been a good solid race for the number 77 Royal Motorsport Ginetta of Ben Dimmock and Steve Burgess. That's in 11th place at the moment. Tim Docker is now into 12th position and up into a top 3 within Class 4 because he got ahead of the BPM Motorsport Seat, and then behind them running in 14th place, but catching them with Rob Gillam aboard is the CTR Alpha Tune Seat. And then we've got the battle for the Class 3 lead and 7th overall between the two Porsches. Peter Cunningham up ahead has been caught now by Adam Hatfield, who gets the better run coming out of the corner, draws alongside, gets his nose in front and charges through on the exit to Abbey Corner. It seems as though it's going to be a first Class 5 victory of the season for Chris Murphy and the BMW Z3, now well clear of Andrew Stewart in the Honda Civic. In second place overall in the SB Race Engineering Ferraris, Andy Schultz, but he's been reeled in by the very rapid Charlie Hollings in the number 10 488. I think he's going to run out of time though, because the flag is out, and through Woodcut Corner for the final time is Tim Gray. It's a second win of the season for VR Motorsport. Confirmation of the results with Class 2 winners Bailey and Schultz, and Mars and Hollings completing the top 3. Hatfield and Humphreys all pass, and Murphy the other class winners. VR Motorsport won race 1 despite Alistair Bolton dropping to the back of the pack on the formation lap.
In qualifying we damaged the front tyre, so it meant that we put another set of tyres on. We didn't have time to get the tyres warm enough. It was the first time I had driven on new tyres, non-scrubbed, and it's very difficult when they're so new. And he just had a walking pace spin, unfortunately. So, but did a mega job to get back through the field. Handed over to me and I did the rest.
And we caught up with the second place finishers as they sheltered from the wind in their motorhome.
We had a great start to the race, and then Andy jumped in and took us to P1 in class. Fantastic race, and really pleased, particularly as the conditions are so difficult today.
Yeah, it was quite tricky. Yeah, the wind, you could feel it all the way around the track, so it was affecting the car's handling a bit. But I think we were a bit lucky because in qualifying, obviously we just messed that up slightly this morning. I should have gone out second and tried to go for a better time, but I think the result was mega for the place we started, so really pleased with that. Got a bit of work to do still on the car, but we're getting there.
We're all set for race 2 here at Silverstone. The Taranis, Ben Sharich and Johnny McGregor will start from the pit lane. We're missing a few with mechanical gremlins, including the 4th place finisher from race 1, the Alan Purbrick David Bryce Seika. On board with Wayne Mars from 3rd place. As the lights go out, the race gets underway, and Alistair Bolton in the blue Praga is going to get the lead. Mars is going to be second, I think, just about squeezing through. And look at that, the green missile of Chris Hart in the number 4 Seika has gone from 9th to 4th. Underway from the pit lane then is the Taranis, on board with Paul Calladine, and look at the other Seika, Paul Rose, from the back of the field, making great ground already as well. Going through into the S's now at Beckett's. He's gained another place on the number 26 Ginetta, it looks like, of Sarah Moore. So Paul Rose absolutely charging, but it's the Praga that leads. It's Wayne Mars in the Ferrari in 2nd, and 3rd now is Chris Hart. He's gained 6 places at the start of the race, and he might be about to gain another. He's lucky to go 2nd, they're 3 abreast. Mars gets the lead of the race, but is he going to hold it for more than 2 seconds? No is the answer. Chris Hart down the inside of the pair of them, and it's all changed. So it's Hart into 1st, 2nd for Mars, 3rd coming back at him though is Alistair Bolton in the Praga. Absolutely fantastic racing. And there is the number 15 Andrew Stewart Honda Civic, which finished second in Class 5 in race 1, but is already ahead of Chris Murphy. Right, a replay of this move on board with Wayne Mars. He thunders into the lead, but to his right, look, passing the pair of them is the Seika of Chris Hart, shared with Steve Harris, the car's owner. Chris Hart, the reigning champion in the Fun Cup Endurance Championship, with a great move. Right, so at the end of lap 1, it's the Seika that leads the way. Second place for the Ferrari of Mars. Third now is Ross Wiley. So he started to come up the order from the third row of the grid. And Ross, the 2017 Dunlop Endurance champion, he's looking very rapid indeed as he makes his way down towards the Beckett's S's. Right then, this is a battle that's going on with the number 35, Chris Bentley Sayat, the number 26, Ginetta of Sarah Moore, and right behind the pair of them is Paul Calladine in the similar G50. Moore's got up the inside, look, on the way through Maggots and Beckett, so she gains a place, and we've still got this battle going on for second place between the two Ferraris, but it is just about Wayne Mars that keeps his nose in front. Fourth now is the Praga, which started on pole position. On board with Paul Calladine, going past the slowing Seika, and I fear it was Paul Rose it was. He made a terrific first lap, but the car has developed more problems. He pulls off onto the grass on the run down towards Stowe. As we go back on board in the cockpit now with Wayne Mars in the Ferrari 488, passed by the similar machine of Ross Wiley, who gets down the inside into Village, covers off the line through the left-hander at the loop. They'll wind their way through then onto the Wellington Straight, but out of the race after a frustrating day is Paul Rose. On board with Ian Humphries then in the Beluga Racing Porsche 991, Class 3 winner of race 1, but under attack here, and that is Sam Neary from the very back of the grid. Now he's gained 14, now 15 places in just one lap. A replay then of the start. There was lots going on board with Ian Humphries. So Mark Cunningham gets another good start, and there is Chris Hartlock charging his way through from 9th on the grid, gaining a place in the green Seika, and then just braving it around the outside. He's renowned for his fast first laps in Fun Cup, and he's done an equally good job here. Now on board with Paul Calladine for the start of the race, and look at that, tremendous start from Sam Neary. Had an issue with the brake and accelerator pedals being too close together in race 1, which caused the spin into the gravel trap, but already making short shrift of the work to get up the field. The top 4 come through in the same order, but Alistair Bolton, look, getting into his rhythm here. He did a good comeback drive in race 1, having had the spin on the formation lap, and it looks like he's closing down onto Wayne Mars in the Ferrari now. Now we've got a really good battle which has been going on for a lap or two between Ian Humphries in the Porsche and Ben Dimmock in the Raw Motorsports Ginetta Super Cup car, and he's almost alongside him as he makes his way out through Stowe Bend. Tim Docker looking for another podium in the VW Golf, being pushed hard by the Bespoke Cars Porsche driven by Marcus Fothergill, which has come up from 17th on the grid, just outside the top 10. As we see a change of position, that's for third place, and that's Alistair Bolton coming through. He'd been threatening to close up to the back of Wayne Mars, and now he's got through, and look at the Praga just powering away. It's a Class 1 machine versus the onboard camera car, which is a Class 2 machine. And it looks like an issue, I'm afraid, for Team Brit. That's Martin Compton in. They had a good 5th place in Class 4 in race 1. And the news is it's a gearbox issue for the Aston Martin, as we see the top 2 almost nose to tail. Ross Wiley is now dwarfing Chris Hart, the Ferrari, right underneath the rear wing of the Seika as they go through Copse Corner. On board with Wayne Mars, who's falling away now from Alistair Bolton in the Praga. So they're 3rd and 4th. Twitching under the brakes is Paul Bailey, former Britcar class champion in the number 28 SB Racing Engineering car. He's not that far back from them though. And then rounding out the top 6, we've got Mark Cunningham, who is at the moment, Class 3 leader in the Porsche, looking to get the class victory back from the 991, which beat it in the first race. Here we go then, Ross Wiley coming down Hanger Straight. The inside line might be covered, but he can't prevent Ross Wiley from coming through. He's much better on the brakes. He whips out into the inside line and gets the position. The blustery conditions of Storm Hannah have really made it difficult for the teams this weekend.
That's 1 minute.
Yeah, I've got 45 seconds left on mine.
As Sam Olpas taking a drink of water and just counting down the clock before he's released in the Jeff Steele BMW. And that is Paul Calladine now stepping out of the EDF Motorsport prepared Ginetta G50. Former Fun Cup champion Graham Roberts is going to take his place. He's had a few Britcar races over the last 6 months or so and proved to be very rapid indeed. They finished 6th in Class 4 in race 1. Tim Docker finished 2nd in the category in the opening encounter. And there is your race leader, now getting his head down and putting away as much as he can before he hands over to his teammate, gentleman racer David Mason, a former multiple champion in Britcar. Praga in 2nd, now down to 3rd place then for Chris Hart in the Seika. Matter of time, I think, before that Praga came through. He's mighty quick. It was 2 seconds quicker than anybody in qualifying. There's Wayne Mars to the left of the picture, so he's been an early pit stopper. The Ferrari, of course, was running in the top 4. Charlie Hollings been given maximum time in the car now to try and set some rapid lap times. He's still very much in contention. As Graham Roberts is counted down and released from the pit box by the team. So he will now go out, and they've got a good chance of a podium in Class 4 after a strong start from Paul Calladine. There is Mark Cunningham staying out for a slightly longer stint in the Porsche. And again, he's been chased down by Sam Neary. And I think once the pit stop shakedown, both of them could be inside the top 6. They're winning his class and looking for a double victory here at Silverstone is Chris Murphy in the Class 5 Z3. So Silverstone, the wind picking up even more if that's possible. And out of the race, it looks like, for Tim Graydon. He just got in the car, but look, the rear wing is becoming detached. They've got an issue with that. It could be a retirement. So just like in round 1, they win a race and fail to finish in the other. There's Ross Wiley, eagerly watching to see if David Mason can fend off the charging pack. But no is the answer, because the first one to cross the line is going to be Charlie Hollings, who pitted earlier than everybody else at the front of the field. So down to 2nd place it is for David Mason. And in with a left rear puncture, the car which started so well, the JPR Motorsport run Seika of Steve Harris and Chris Hart. 4th and 5th is close as well. Richard Neary now in the green and black ABBA Racing BMW, and Adam Hatfield now in the number 99 Beluga Racing Porsche, just a couple of seconds between them. There's Ben Dimmock, who had a good first stint in the number 77 Raw Motorsports Ginetta and was battling away with the Beluga Porsche of Ian Humphries, but both of them picked up 5-second penalties for exceeding track limits. You've now got Steve Burgess in the number 77 machine, which is in 6th place. And there's the number 92 G50, and lapping itself, Graham Roberts is now into 3rd place in Class 4 and doing a fantastic job. Into the closing stages of the race here at Silverstone, and the number 28 SB Race Engineering Ferrari has found its way up to 2nd place now. A good stint this from Andy Schultz. Also impressive, Rob Gillam, super sub this weekend for CTR Alpha Tune. The number 35 Stayat leads Class 4, only a couple of seconds clear though of Tim Docker, but time is almost up because the checkered flag is being unfurled, and we're going to get a race victory here for the FF course pairing of Wayne Mars and Charlie Hollings. Bailey and Schultz and Mason and Wiley make it a Ferrari 1-2-3, and an excellent 4th place finish for Class 4 winners Richard and Sam Neary.
The first round of the year we had 2 class wins, and then here we've had a 2nd and a 1st class-wise, and then so really good points for the overall championship, but then obviously the overall wins are really nice. Cherry on the top of it all, so yeah, really good day.
And a terrific race debut for Ian Humphries, scoring 2 class wins alongside Adam Hatfield.
It feels incredible. I mean, nobody could have expected that, particularly myself. And the lads at Beluga Racing done a great job getting the car sorted all weekend. It's been amazing, so really pleased.
Also taking a double class victory and maximum points, Chris Murphy.
It's nice to have a class win for a change. Normally in Class 3 in Britcar in my Aston, but we're having some fun in a cheap old Z4 this year. You can have some fish and chips and a little chat to yourself going down the straight, and it's so slow, but it's good fun. It's good fun.
3 wins from 4 races means it's tied at the top of the table, with Mars and Hollings now leading, but by just 10 points. Round 3 takes us to Brands Hatch. Thanks for watching.